Doku is wasteful. He's wasteful. The end product is not there. You can't compare Gundogan and Mahrez. Games like this, when teams are so difficult to unlock, Mahrez comes in and gives an assist, right? He's always the difference maker. Gundogan scores goals from the midfield, right? And this season, they don't have those. They've replaced those guys with Doku. Guardiola actually respected Arteta. Normally, Guardiola plays 4-1-4-1, right? Today, that's why he brought in Kovacic, an extra man in the midfield, changed it to 4-2-3-1.
It's been almost 2 years since City played a game at Etihad and the game ended goalless. So we can say that today, Arsenal, maybe
a milestone.
Maybe the way they defended extensively today, maybe they did something. But if you guys are new, this is Futbol Kings. And let's talk about the mancity versus Arsenal. What is your take from the game? Is this a game where Arsenal were able to get something from Etihad by being very defensive? By the way, they tried this the last time they were at Etihad, right? Last year. They packed the balls, but they lost.
But they still lost.
Right?
Extra time, yeah.
Today, they did the exact same thing. They packed the balls, but nothing happened, right? It ended goalless, right? They didn't score. Man City didn't score.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we know the stakes were high in this game. What did you think overall about the game?
I think City's season is kind of a mixed bag in the sense that we're seeing, like when you just asked the difference between comparing what Arsenal did the same thing last season, but City could not win, right? What was the difference? Last season they had Mahrez. Last season they had Gundogan. Those were the differences, right? I know people who have said, "Oh, Mahrez is leaving; it's not going to make a difference. Gundogan is leaving," but go and check what Mahrez and Gundogan did for City 3 years before. Games like this, when teams are so difficult to unlock, Mahrez comes in and gives an assist, right? He's always the difference maker. Gundogan scores goals from the midfield, right? And this season they don't have those. They've replaced those guys with Doku, right?
And
Today,
Kovacic.
who was and Kovacic? Kovacic he came from Chelsea, right? He's to me is average when you compare him to Gundogan in terms of the output. There's no output there. He doesn't score goals, right? He might hold the ball more, but he didn't come to play football just to hold the ball. Doku is wasteful. He's wasteful. The end product is not there. You can't compare Gundogan and Mahrez. Mahrez affects the game, right? But leaving that, I would say the funny thing about this game is I was expecting Arteta to do something different. He didn't do anything different. He did the same thing he did in his house. He did the same thing he did last year. The major difference for him is that he had better people, better quality on the pitch in terms of the midfield. Declan Rice, right? Difference maker. The defenders, both of them fit. Saliba and Gabriel, difference maker. He had a better keeper, a keeper that doesn't. Raya made some couple of was nervy sometimes, but apart from that, I don't think he was really tested that I would like, right? Arsenal sat back, City pass side to side to the wings, looking for crossings, looking for Haaland was held back by Gabriel, like bullied. He was trying to bully Gabriel. Gabriel was bullying him. At the end of the day, he almost had a concussion. Or we don't know if that was fake, right? As he's not, he had a terrible game to me. Few touches of the ball. He had an opportunity when it was crossed to him. He could not tap in. So and today again, Guardiola actually respected Arteta. Normally, Guardiola plays 4-1-4-1, right? Today, that's why he brought in Kovacic, an extra man in the midfield, changed it to 4-2-3-1, right? That's respect. Like trying to respect, Arsenal, these people might be dangerous. They might have that gap. We might have and maybe rightfully so. Maybe if you didn't introduce that extra man in midfield and decide to play only one man in front of the defense, maybe they could have lost, right? And the
Yeah.
stats that they have this is a terrible start. They've not been able to beat anyone in the top five. Still carries on. So yeah, nothing new.
Yeah.
I expected Arsenal to get something from this game. So yeah.
I was surprised, right? Because my analysis coming into the game, I knew that Arsenal would be overwhelmed. That one, I said it like previously. Arsenal would be overwhelmed with the way City would attack them in waves and waves, pass the ball
Yeah,
around,
yeah,
smother
yeah.
them, and I pretty much expected it to be the same thing, and it was the same thing. But the outcome was a little different from what I expected. I in my mind, when it was 70 something minutes, I was expecting like a goal because how would Arsenal
That's
keep
when Rodri usually pops up and
yes,
scores.
how would
Yeah.
Arsenal keep up with the waves
This
and waves
defense
of
of
attack?
defense. Yeah.
And they kept on defending and defending and defending. And at the end of the day, it finished goalless. And it was the best outcome if you think about it, right? Because at the end of the day, in as much as you come to Etihad wanting to win, it's better to not lose because the loser of the game, this game between Man City versus Arsenal, ultimately is pretty much out of the title race, if you think about it, right? So it was a good outcome, but more
Yeah.
favorable for obviously Liverpool at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think this is the best thing that could have happened. What I would have preferred,
Yeah.
and the only thing I'll question, right, is I would have preferred Arsenal to take their chances a lot more, given that their
They
chances they
had
had
they had more
more
open. Yeah.
open chances compared to Man
Yeah.
City. They could have been a little bit more clinical.
Yeah.
But just to touch on the comparison, like for like between Mahrez and Doku is not a good replacement for the quality that Mahrez brought to
No.
City,
No.
right? So
Not at
it,
all.
it still
Not
feels
at
like
all. No.
yes, City have
No.
all these talents. They could
Yeah.
play Bernardo Silva in that position. They could play Foden in that position,
Yeah.
but it still feels like they are missing a proper right winger to come in and make an impact. And so
But Doku is not a right winger. He's a left winger. That's
Doku
his
can
original position.
yeah,
But
but
he
he
can
can
play
play
right.
both. He can play
Yeah.
both right
And
and
the
left.
only
Yeah,
reason they put him on the right is because Grealish only can play left. Grealish can
yeah,
play on the right, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah. And Grealish actually did
he
okay
even
in the
tried.
game.
He
He
tried. He
actually, I
even
was
did
surprised.
better than Doku. If Doku
He
was in
even
that
did he
position,
did better than
yeah,
Haaland that had been there
yeah,
the whole 90. But one question, just to wrap up this conversation we're having about Master and Arsenal. One question I do have for you. I was after the game I went on social media and I saw different people saying different things. But there was something Roy Keane said. He said Haaland plays like a League Two player. Like he might be brilliant and clinical in front of the goal, but
touches are poor.
the
The
rest of
striker,
his
doesn't
game,
he doesn't hold up play. There are a lot of poor things about his game. I, I partly agree with him in the sense that a top striker, anyways, the game has evolved from when Roy Keane played it, right?
yeah,
A striker, go and compare strikers in the league. Go and see what Isak is doing for Newcastle. Go and
yeah,
see what Tony is doing, right?
yeah,
If Isak, just as an example, if Isak was in this Manchester City team, Manchester City would have been top of the league by now. Because as a striker, you come back, you ease the pressure, you come back, at least make some passes to the side to create that movement. Let people be sure that when they move forward, you can give some true balls. His passing is he gives assists quite all right, but his passing is not that great. His hold up play has improved this season. His hold up play used to be terrible,
yeah.
right? But even apart from that, like first half, he had like 7 touches of the ball. Like when the first substitute Man City made, right? At that time, I think it was 25 minutes. He had
They
just
took
7 touches
Ake.
of
The
the
first
ball.
substitute, they took Ake
Yeah,
and brought
okay,
in
yeah.
Luis.
He just had 7 touches of the ball. 7. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's bad. That's really bad. The only thing he was doing last season was he will just hang out for the ball. De Bruyne gets the ball, looks for him, gives him, he scores. But that's football is more than that, and that's why most times you see that Pep is angry with him, right? Even when
Yeah,
he scores, you see Pep talking to him because there's a lot to him. He's still young, quite all right, but there's a lot to improve in his game, and most of the time, Today he spent most of the time fighting. Yeah, he was fighting. He's trying to injure Gabriel, fight Gabriel, bully Gabriel too didn't grieve for him. No grief for anybody. Don't grieve for anybody. That's the two of them. They were just fighting. So, but yeah, he's a brilliant finisher of the ball. You need that as a striker. But there are other things to being a striker than just that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Liverpool won Brighton,
Yeah.
and this puts Liverpool top of the table with 67 points.
Yeah.
The title race is heating up. Liverpool 67 points, Arsenal 65 points, and Man City
Yeah.
64 points. It's
Yeah.
more or less like we're at the point in the season where nobody can make a mistake, really, because if you make a
Yeah.
mistake in the last 9 games in the season, it's like your title race is pretty much over at this point,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
drop more points, your title race is done, especially between Arsenal and Man City. More for Man
Yeah.
City at this point.
I think Man City will
How
still drop more points.
how do you think this title race will shape up? Do you see Man City
This
ramping up?
this week, Man City is still going to drop more points. They are going to play Aston Villa soon. I don't know if it's their next game. They are still going to drop points in that game. It depends on what Aston Villa does, but I feel like Aston Villa can still get something from Man City. That
Mm,
start is still there. They've not beaten any top 5 team. It's there for a reason, right? Sometimes we look at football, it's there for a reason. They've not been good enough to be the top 5 teams. That's just what it means. Quite all right, they've been able to bully the others and stamp their feet and make the others being afraid of them. But if you City, teams have shown this season that if you come at City, they are extremely vulnerable this season. They are shaky, right? It's not like they are invisible. They are shaky, right? And they are still going to drop more points. I don't know. Guardiola is scared, and that he showed for him to bring in an extra man in the midfield. That showed fear. I saw him complaining throughout. So I might be wrong. Arsenal, we don't know if they will still be Arsenal. They always Arsenal where they last season they faltered. So which to say they cannot start, they will not drop points, right? This season. They will still meet Aston Villa, they still meet Chelsea. Anyway, Chelsea is not who you should count. But Chelsea has just spoilers, right? But those kind of games, but it's their house. They have a good home record. They
yeah,
even have a good away record. So yeah.
yeah. One of the biggest games for Liverpool that's left for Liverpool is against Manchester United. Liverpool lost to Man U in the FA Cup fixture, right? But
Yeah.
they meet Man U at Old Trafford again as one of their fixtures. And people say if Liverpool can win all the games and win Man U, pretty much Liverpool is going to win this title because there's nothing harder coming up. But I don't want to jinx that, right? But
There's
looking
a
at the fixture,
possibility that Liverpool will drop points in that game also. Sorry to say.
I mean, we've not had if you look at the start last season when we played Old Trafford, we lost. We played the 2 times we played Old Trafford, right? Since last
Yeah.
season till now,
Yeah.
we've lost. We've actually
Yeah.
not won at Old Trafford, you know.
Yeah.
So it will take a lot of bravery, it will take a lot of
Yeah.
effort, and it's something that Liverpool
I
literally
think best you get is a draw in
they
Old
have to
Trafford.
band together. Getting a draw at Old Trafford is actually not a bad thing, right? But definitely
Considering
not
that City is still
don't
going to
lose.
drop points and Arsenal might drop points.
Yeah, but we would have to see how the game shapes up and how the rest of the teams go along.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just to wrap up our conversation, like, yes, it's heating up between Arsenal, Man City, and obviously Liverpool. But what about Aston Villa and Tottenham, right? They are holding the spot. It's more like one person wins, the other person wins, one person loses, the other person loses. It's
No
like
grief for anybody between those two.
it's really tight at this point. It's really tight
No
at this
grief
point.
for
What do you think?
anybody. And that's why I'm saying it's a bad time for Man City to meet Aston Villa.
Mm,
Because Aston Villa knows just one more loss and they're out of that top 4.
yeah.
Loss, they can draw and Tottenham draws or they draw, but they can't lose any other game.
Mm,
Do you get what I'm saying? So that's just it. And Tottenham too is also meeting Man City this season, right? So the last 9 games are just beautiful for neutrals like us, right? So yeah,
That's interesting. But hey, you guys, let us know what you think. Let's know your
yeah,
top four. Is it
yeah.
Liverpool, Man City? In no particular order. Is it going to be Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, Aston Villa? Or will Tottenham come back into the top four spot? Like, subscribe,
Subscribe.
and thank you
Yeah.
guys for watching.